Hello again, my doctoral students. This is an overview of POGRO's Chapter 1, The Authentic Role of Evidence and Theory in Improving Practice. The main topics in this chapter are, again, an introduction of authentic quantitative analysis, importance of power of numbers, understanding the nature of science, reflection, theory's role, academic versus personal theories of action, integrating academic and personal theories, summary of key points, and practical application examples. So here we go into Chapter 1. So in the introduction to quantitative analysis, we have three important big ideas. One is the visual representation of data, and that's utilizing figures and tables to clarify trends and enable educators to convey complex information succinctly. It's about enhancing decision-making, using quantitative analysis to provide objective data to empower leaders to make informed decisions effectively. And then data-driven strategies. Integrating quantitative data with strategic planning allows for targeted interventions and resource allocation in education. The bottom line is that Stan POGRO believes that we need to have better use of quantitative data in making our decisions. He also will say a little later in this that qualitative data is essential to that as well. So, the importance and power of numbers. So we know, we've already talked about in applied research that statistical data eliminates key trends, and it can drive effective policy adaptations and resource distribution in education. It can, but it's not always being used that way. And in evaluating educational outcomes, it's essential for informing instructional adjustments for optimal learning experiences. And then we need to balance the pros and cons. A numerical approach aids leaders in weighing program benefits against potential drawbacks for informed decisions. So his theory, and I think it's true, his personal theory of practice, is that most administrators don't use data well. They're either intimidated by that data or don't know how to interpret it. And so what he believes is that we need this more authentic way of using data that will help all of us that make decisions about education to make better decisions based on that quantitative. And he also suggests later qualitative as well, data to make those decisions. So first of all, he talks about the understanding of the nature of science. Science is methods that ensure rigorous scrutiny and valid knowledge generation. And so he's saying he doesn't disagree with the whole concept of the nature of science, that science is the systematic inquiry on a topic to find out what's working and what's not working, and that enhancing data collection for comprehensive educational research processes is absolutely necessary. He also talks about the imagery of instruments can deepen understanding and portray science as a carefully organized investigation into reality. One of his big arguments you'll read over and over again in his different chapters are that a lot of scientific research do not relate to reality of what goes on in schools and in universities and in colleges. And so his whole thing is saying, how do we make sure that data is used to make decisions in these important educational institutions? And that's what authentic quantitative analysis is about. Here's the important thing that I want to really make sure you understand, that he believes in the reflective nature of science. In other words, science and looking at data is still all about humans reflecting on it and fostering deeper insight of those humans about what they can do to make a difference. It's not just about the numbers themselves. Anybody can put a bunch of numbers on a board. It's when you look at it and you think about it and you infuse it with your own theories of practice, you can figure out what data makes sense to you. And so that's, this whole concept of reflection is critical. And he talks about it, about imagery. Imagery, the symbols, it enhances understanding of insights. And so the visual nature of humans is critical to look at the imagery of that data. And integrating reflection into decision making is critical. His whole theory is that it sharpens critical thinking and promotes informed educational decisions. And that's why we need to have this reflective nature of our work. He talks about theory's role in educational practice and says that essential frameworks, structures, understanding, and guiding practical applications in educational settings. Theories are important. And he's saying that we're not anti-theory. We're saying that data needs to precede theory and that any good theory is built on data. And so he talks about the building blocks of theory is visualizing theories as building blocks, illustrating depth of understanding and crucially developing educational practices. So he wants us to keep our theories, not to move away from theories, but incorporate theories in authentic quantitative methods. So integrating academic theories with personal experiences is a big part. And he talks in another part of this chapter about our personal theories and how important they are to deciding what data to collect. So here's the personal theories of action. He says visualizing academic theories and personal experience as diverging paths and yet interconnected roles, that we need to actually bring our personal theories into academic theories, and that it leads to better informed decision-making processes. And the challenges to integrating are that they're faced harmonizing diverse educational perspectives is what happens when you try to contrast theories and frameworks with personal experiences. So you say, here's the theory, but here's what I see going on in my school or my university or my college. And that's an important part of developing higher quality quantitative data analysis, is taking your personal theories and because they're based on practice, and applying them to other theories that are not necessarily based on practice. So that part is integrating academic and personal theories. And he sees it as a Venn diagram that, there should be an overlap. And finding that overlap is what you want to do as a researcher, is taking the theories that are in place and then the practices that you understand, find the overlap and collect data in that to find out what's really going on. So the intersection of those integrates perspectives and yields actionable strategies. So it isn't abandoning theories, and it isn't abandoning your personal experience. It's saying, let's put those two together and foster a holistic approach to improving decision making. And I think he's onto something there, because often we reject, oh, this theory or that theory, or we accept this theory and it doesn't seem to work out in practice. So the summary of the key points for this chapter are the merging of theoretical frameworks with practical applications, the symbiosis between academic theories and personal experiences, making those go together so that they actually make sense and can make changes in school, and then the reflective nature of science, amplifying our comprehension of what we're learning when we collect data and try to apply it to a local educational setting. So he points out that we're at a great time in history where infographics are available to help us present complex data and engaging visuals for clearer understanding. That charts and summaries, which we would call tables and figures, aid people to quickly communicate information and improve recall and efficiency. And then graphic summaries, succinct snapshots of trends and visually accessible formats help people to understand the data that they're looking at. So there's a great opportunity now to help people use data to make data-based decisions. And practical application examples, he talks about before and after analysis, like a pre-post analysis, pre-post analysis. Impacts, emphasize impact of measured quantitative demonstrating efficiency of educational interventions clearly. So he's saying the traditional designs can be used in education with more practical analyses. And then case studies, specific metrics from real world education cases can make a real decision-making benefit to educational leaders. And then trying to implement in diverse educational contexts. So the quantitative analysis across varied educational scenarios can help determine if the intervention, the innovation actually is making a difference and can make a difference in different settings.